So new repository. Oh, am I not sure? Oh, thank you. Thought I had them. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So for this one, name. What would you call this workshop?
The hackathon, or
Yeah, that's And then task would be
Sure. So
like oh yeah,
I had a experimental result where essentially I had two classes of monomer with a different type of substituent on each class. The substituent is essentially the chunk of the molecule, which seems to be controlling the outcome of the polymerization. In other words, do we get perfect yield or kind of mediocre yield? And the question is, given the reaction that I'm doing, why does changing the substituent lead to this change in the reaction outcome? And I would ideally like a physical organic chemistry, in other words, a mechanistic explanation for the experimental result that I've seen. I've done the work and I found, I think, the key reference which explains this and provides the data. So we have that as kind of like a whole thing to compare to.
I was going to ask about that. So more or less, you think the answer is embedded within that
paper?
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And it's a good test case because this is also a historical paper from the ACS. So
we're not going to tell the paper. We're going to do.
We'll probably do both. One where we tell the paper, one where we don't.
I think that's probably the best way.
Yeah, but I'll start with probably not giving it the paper if there really is the answer in there. So.
If you bring up the Word doc that I sent, that includes kind of like key data and all the necessary information in a way that is readable to chemists.
Gotcha.
So if you look here, oh gosh, that thing's not rendering.
That's okay. It's probably just
but you'll be able to see that you have the reaction conditions and the type of reaction that you do. Any human who's a chemist should be able to say, okay, that's cation polymerization. You know that works. And you can see that I have a abbreviation for the monomer 1 constituent, and the rest are these alkyl substituents.
Yeah.
And I have the raw data there.
Okay. Cool. That's perfect. So
this is, I think, pretty authentic.
So
task. Let's start with real data.
Yeah. What do you call this project? Is there some? Do you have some shorthand for this project that you?
I call them abs. That's the name of this test. ABVs. As bicyclobutanes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep it private unless. Oh, this is something interesting. I tend to be very open and keep many things public and open source that most people would not at the very beginning. Something I've learned from you, Taylor, is if you go fast enough, it doesn't matter.
It's true.
Yeah. And that's been something I've kind of carried with me for a while. Also, I found that by making something public, you reduce that sentiment, like, oh, this is a closely guarded secret. And so it almost acts as a deterrent in itself for people scooping you, because it's like, oh, it's open. Like, there was a company that advertised having the most secure data storage, something or other, and then it became a target for hackers as almost like a competition. And then that thing got hacked and exposed all this data, sort of thing. So, what's another one? Yeah, hidden in plain sight. But aside from that, one of the reasons, kind of this funny thing I found, is that by making it public, it becomes so much easier for an agent to grab links and just raw download and access some of these things. GitHub's still pretty good about being able to use its authentication to grab things. There's just a couple nuances there. I'll leave it. I'm going to leave it private though. That was not too.
No worries.
Yeah. So I'll create this repository, and I'm going to do some set of things. And by the way, GitHub familiarity. How do we all feel? Okay. I've used it before. Yeah. Sounds good. And then I know it was. Well, the people I've known for a while, like so I'm going to go in settings here. Some of this will be Copilot specific, but other things not. So I'm going to go down here to Copilot Cloud Agent. I'm going to disable the firewall. Did not do that a long time ago, but I've gotten increasingly comfortable with that one. I'm going to go to secrets and variables here. I'm going to go to agents, and I'm going to give it one of my Edison API keys. And thank you, Edison, for the generous 3,000 token bonus for like being an early subscriber, but they're changing their pricing model too. So it's like any academics that are already on, here's 3,000 credits, and typical queries are between like 1 and 10.
Your monthly 640.
What?
They're taking away the monthly.
Yeah, exactly.
Expire. The 2,000 doesn't expire, but
yeah, and I may have used my like 5 educational account emails. And
there you go. If you
Nice.
that.
Yeah, so I probably have about 15,000 credits between everything. But don't tell Edison. So for this one, I'm just going to name the API key the same. So Agentic hackathon AVBS, no expiration, create token, grab this, Edison platform API key. You can name it something else, but this is just what I have for the custom instructions to be able to copy paste it, like pointing out, hey, this is what I'm going to use for that.
So to verify, you disable the firewall, firewall,
yeah,
and then upload the API key.
Yeah. Next, I'm going to go to, and later, maybe not for this one, but later I'm also going to go in and show how I do HPC remote access. And so I'll just tell an agent, like, okay, go log into the HPC. Okay, let me upload the 110 passcode so you can authenticate, and then have it kind of go off and do something. So next up, I'm going to add a file. I'm going to call this .github/copilot instructions.md. I'm going to go here and back to that gist that I had for there we go. So this one here, and I'm just going to copy over a couple sections, pretty much just the LaTeX and, well, let's these ones over. So this coding agent one, this is something that is no longer needed because all the base models have kind of figured out, like however they've updated it, it deals with installation pretty well. This one is just saying like, hey, when you give a comment, embed the image, provide direct hyperlinks. It just kind of helps a little bit with keeping it a little more like a chat interface. So the Edison and the LaTeX is there. So I'm going to commit that. So now we've got some of the setup here. I'm also going to go back here and make sure the data gets uploaded. That will be. And then let's. Yeah. So you gave a good agent task and a bad agent task. This good one, we might be able to skip this because I think we all might agree that an agent could do this pretty well. So like this one, carefully read the scripts and documents in this directory, summarize the functionalities, how you'd use it on Utah's HPC, environment setup, give specific command and code examples, and then giving it these files to access. So can we all maybe agree that we would expect most agents to be able to do that? Now going to this one, produce a hypothesis explaining this chemical phenomenon. So I'm going to go and create a GitHub issue. Does anyone need a little primer refresher on what a GitHub issue is? Okay. GitHub issues are part of the project management features of GitHub. So it's an issue can be a request for a new feature. It can be a bug in a software. It can be some ideas. A lot of people just have general discussion that go into these. And so I'm making an issue with this title that you gave and more or less just providing this prompt. Traditionally, issues have always been for person-to-person communication. Now issues are increasingly becoming kind of agent communication. And so here I'm going to give a couple things. And give it those two files. And oh wait, is this PDF?
That's
the manuscript that's going to have the.
Yep.
Okay. So that's actually my bad. I should have not uploaded that. I'll delete it and just hope and maybe double check that Copilot doesn't see it in the history and grab it. And so let me. I could run a command to have it wiped entirely, but yeah, I'll just that as is. And then I'll remove this PDF or the link saying, okay, look at this. And I'm going to put use your Edison, use Edison analysis to with the docx, upload it to extract each individual figure, subfigure from it, the table, etc. Bring this back in chain readable format. Refer to the API docs for collecting all artifacts. I'm going to say fetch this session, meaning wait for it to complete and then pull the results back in. In parallel with that, send 3 high effort Edison literature queries related to the above. And actually, I think Copilot can handle this one. So extract each individual subfigure from this. I'll actually just have Copilot. If I was doing this and I was okay with waiting longer and having more hands-off time, I would probably say send these high-effort literature queries, fetch the results, then upload everything that you have in terms of data, context, and send a new query with that, get the results back. So I probably have it do some loops. For this one, I'm just going to have it do it all at once. So this is the whole trade-off between running things sequentially, so kind of an optimization sense, like doing everything at once versus learning from your previous iterations and data. So one has a longer wall time, but doesn't get to learn from previous iterations. Analysis, right, with all data uploaded.
About the mechanistic origin of the difference in reaction.
Cool. So let's give this a try. And here I'm going to go and assign Copilot to the issue. And then from here, I get to select different models. And I'm going to go down and select Opus 4.8, which is a 27x multiplier. The model GPT 5.5 is 57x. Haiku is 0.33x. So if you can get Haiku to work on your problems reliably, awesome. But it's exactly that trade-off of what's the percent success rate of a particular model. You can provide additional context here, but I pretty much provided that all in the issue itself. So I'm going to assign that and then create the issue here. And now Copilot is throwing on an emoji eyes on the issue, and it's going to open up what's called a pull request. A pull request is often attached directly to a GitHub issue. Issues don't have any code inside of them. It's just this kind of conversation. It's got linkages to other places in the repository. But when you make a pull request, it has a branch associated with it, a branch of the code, its own copy it can work with that eventually can make it back into the main project area. So it's its own kind of copy it gets to work with. And the agents work on a branch. And so the agents are always doing work in the pull requests, not in the issues here. But these also have kind of conversation. It starts out saying, it's like, okay, thanks for asking me to work on this. I'll get started. It has the details here of what I gave it. And it's going to keep this updated as it goes along. You'll notice down here, it says Copilot started work on behalf of SG Baird. I can go in and view the session, which is where we're going to see some of the reasoning here. So it starts out, it's cloning the repository, so it's a full environment. It's a machine that can download things, install things, compile things. It's starting out by cloning the repository. It has these different servers. I'll point out Playwright. Well, actually, these two maybe. GitHub MCP server. This is going to let it use its GitHub authentication to do things on the GitHub repository. That's especially important because this is a private repository. You can't just use a raw URL and fetch the content from there. Playwright is a browser navigation tool. It's existed for a long time and was developed with disabilities in mind. So like automated browser usage from a disability standpoint, that's been a long-standing need. Turns out as agentic workers and LLMs are evolving, that using a tool that's really good at automated browser navigation is good. So this has become a default for most things that are doing browser navigation. It's like it's using Playwright under the hood. So here it's exploring the structure, listing files. It's starting to look at the Word doc file, trying to convert it. It installed a tool to try to grab some of that. It's converting it to PNG with Inkscape. So we'll see, and then it's just kind of going here. So far this has consumed some requests. It's showing the model, and you can steer it while the agent is working. So if I'm looking at the reasoning and I notice something that is way off the rails, or I have some additional context that I want to give the model, I can steer it and it'll pick up this message, usually within a minute or two. So we'll see if it does okay. Edison, I'm pretty confident if we send this to Edison, it would successfully do all the docx extraction. It has some really good vision language following there. So this is kind of the current workflow, and then I'll show how it's going to make branches in a little bit. So Taylor, what do you think from here? We're kind of getting at the stage of where we'll be waiting on certain tasks.
So we should parallelize this and have either on your machine parallel or have individual start working on their own.
Maybe start getting some of that basic setup going.
So this was one example where you have results you're trying to explain. What's another use case that somebody has in mind that we
Actually, should we set up yours? Okay. Okay. So while this is off doing its thing,
So to clarify, when you're making these proposals for any sort of like document here, it's all living in this one repo, or you're like parallelizing multiple repos, or I guess with different issues that you raise, each one of those is its own thread.
Yeah, and each one of those will have its own pull request.
Yeah.
And because it has its own pull request, that's more or less the same sessions. And like when I say one agent, it's for like the agent that I have to happen to reassign over and over again for a particular pull request. And so that agent will naturally look at the context of its own pull request and attached issue, but I can also tell it to look at the pull requests from other ones. And so it's go ahead.
With GitHub Copilot's, we don't want to talk. So with Copilot, like pricing increasing, can you still do this workflow even if you don't have access to Copilot anymore? Would you then like interface it directly with like Claude or?
Yeah, I was looking at that recently, and the answer is yes, you can use it with Claude or Codex. Claude has the ability to use your subscription directly. Codex seems like you can only use the API. And oftentimes these services charge separately for the API usage than they do with the subscription. I don't know if that's, if you found that to be the case. in VS Code, you can have it attached to your codec subscription, and so it's not being charged at the API per token, price there. So,
but for volume that you're doing, you max that out.
Yeah, I'm a little where I might run 15 to 20 of these sessions per day. Probably close to 20 sessions per day. And then it's running for 20 to 30 minutes for things. So, and I have, it's taking a little ramp up, but a lot of the undergrads I'm working with, because GitHub paused subscriptions and they changed their pricing model, I have them type out their prompt to Copilot. They send me a Slack message with the link to that. I go in at Copilot, address their comments, and it's been working. That part has been working out pretty well. Yeah. So let's see where. Yeah, like it's just struggling with the Word doc right now, frankly. So we'll see where it gets to on that one. So this next one, do you want to give some context for what these two tasks you put in there?
Yeah, so one is where I've already run a bunch of calculations. Instead of going through all the files myself, for certain things and then plotting it, all that, basically I want the agent to go through, scrape the data, and then be able to plot any relevant information that I might be looking for. And then I can then follow up. And if something looks suspicious, flag it. But basically, yeah, it's being able to collect the data, apply it in a way that's interpretable, and then I can go from there. The second one where it's bad, I'm saying, here's the data, just interpret it for me.
So is this the same input files and tasks, or it's actually, or would you consider these two separate tasks?
I guess.
Or like one's really simple and straightforward, but the other one's like trying to get back into this.
Yeah, one's
mechanistic.
Yeah.
Interpret it, not just
pretty much like that. Yeah. Okay. So it's like the files are the same, but in one case I'm asking it just to handle the data.
Yeah.
And the other I'm asking it to interpret the data.
Okay.
And actually say what is the conclusion, what is the hypothesis.
Do you think it'd be reasonable to start it off with this first one and then give it the second one? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So for this, maybe if you wanted to join the meeting and screen share, I can kind of walk you through. You're in it.
Even just like getting the small files for you, like I had to download them.
You on Eduroam, Uconnect, Ethernet. Yeah. It might finally be getting the images extracted from
on that.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 minutes. Microsoft products have a big deal with Microsoft. Like, Word is terrible. Word files are actually zip files.
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
You unzip them and you can pull the content.
That's wild.
You get this from the Navy nonsense. Yeah, because they sent me a file that had 1,000 images in it. They're like, they just pulled these for a data set. And I was like, no. And so I was like, I'd rather spend an hour trying to figure out how to do this than I would spend 5 hours. things, or like the save dialogue, and then it's like all these files that have file names associated with them, but and those file names are like important for what they are. So it was like this whole thing.
You went through a lot with the Navy project.
Still don't.
Oh, yeah. So.
Which one's more aggravating, the Navy or the Air Force?
ES3 is more like disappointing.
What's the Air Force project you're working on?
It's supposed to deal with composites qualification.
Okay.
But the company is it's very requirements driven, so it's far more engineering. But the requirements have kind of boxed in the potential solution pathways. And it's more mechanics than materials, but it's fundamentally a materials problem.
Okay.
They're interested in quantifying variability from the process so they can put estimates on how much variability they'll see.
Okay.
But the way they're accessing variability is very indirect. They're like, we're just going to do a bunch of experimental measurements and try to infer variability from that, rather than saying what material is causing variability or its manufacturing defects. How do we quantify that? Translate that into what we see later on.
They're just kind of ignoring microstructure in there.
Yeah. So as a result, it's like we have to try to like back infer these sort of material variability problems from real measurements.
Gotcha.
It's just very inefficient.
Yeah.
That's cool. Just do it online, or?
Yeah, if you could screen share, and then just I'll point out it's now at the Edison stage. I'll maybe show.
When it comes down to interfacing with the many tools that Edison has, is Copilot pretty good? Yeah.
It took me a little while to get it to interface well.
I see. So and that's mostly where the .md agents are really
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Another cool thing. This is just kind of a side tip. Anyone heard of Context 7?
No.
Okay. Context 7 is awesome, up to date documentation for LLMs and AI code editors. So if I go here and I type in, let's do Blowtorch, for example.
You point your agent just to use Context 7 to have the most recent documentation.
Yeah, in a kind of token-friendly format for things. And so it has kind of auto creates the documentation either from a website or from the GitHub repository with all these kind of bite-sized snippets of things, and you can change how many tokens it is. So if I set it to 100,000, like a really long format version, and you can give it this link and it'll just access that and download it. So if I go here, it's like, this is just that full documentation link. Or you can have different, like an MCP server, but basically just kind of standard way of calling Context 7, where it knows how to kind of pull this. For example, so Edison was not on here. And within a minute or two, I got Edison Scientific added, both the GitHub and the docs page. So then so I did that. It took a few minutes to get it on here. And then in the custom instructions, I give it the link to that Edison Scientific page on Context 7. Like, refer to this. That's been like a nice side thing. Then over. Okay, so that's still going through. I'll stop my screen sharing and we'll port over it. Oh wait, no, you're okay. That's right. You're already screen sharing. So for this one, what kind of subscription do you have? I use chat and Claude. Okay. Yeah. Do you have a cloud subscription that you can use? Yeah. Okay. Let me. I'll try to walk you through. Oh wait. Oh no, it's still. Oh,
This is
gotcha.
Casey's now on the scene.
Right here. Do you have a? Do you have a USB-C? Or yeah. So if you. Oh. Oh, is it this? If you put your mouse, okay. I don't know if you want to duplicate your screen or. Oh, still not. Oh. By the way, do you have Claude Code by chance? Have you used it or does that sound familiar?
I just use everything.
Okay.
It's just super slow. So it's just open.
What's turn look? Yeah.
All right, none.
Oh, the. Can you mind if I grab this for a second? Yeah. There's something interesting happened on the one. So. So here, just jumping back to the previous one with the ABVS, it created a script here for sending to Edison. And I find this kind of interesting in that you can see what it decided to ask. And that's one of these things about you going to Edison Scientific and typing out a request versus using an agent as an intermediary to send a request, is that I've often been like, oh, that was a pretty good query that it gave. So let's just kind of taking a look here. Rather than kind of scrolling through this, you'll notice now there are a bunch of files that have been changed and commits that it's made. So commits are these sort of atomic changes it's made where it's added file. Basically, if it's changed any files, that's more or less the commit there. And so just taking a look at some of these files here, it pulled out the CSV table. It has original EMFs that it grabbed, and it looks like it thankfully changed it to PNGs. So looks like it got the PNGs. That's good. Sorry, what?
It's leaving it then correct as well.
Great. I'm sure it's going like that. No idea what's going on there. Right? Yeah. Here's that way. Okay, and then it's getting, yeah, so CSV file and down a bit. Down to now this dispatch Edison. So you can take a closer look at this file. So here's some of the queries that I came up with. And I'll be relying on you, Philip, to kind of.
So some context, as best I can butane polymerization is not really known or explored before. That's one of the key sort of observations of this new report that we finished since we got here. So they did correctly name this rather unusual type of molecule and the type of polymerization that's going on. They also correctly noted the initiator, which is impressive. Yeah, seems like they also have a general idea of what the propagating species might be.
Oh, with this, like, for example.
Yeah, and the last part is nonsensical.
Okay,
it's not a living or controlled polymerization.
Okay.
But everything else is good, and crucially, it acknowledges that the acyl substituent is in fact the thing which is controlling the molecular reactivity, which is my hypothesis. It's also the thing that's really going on.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. How about the second one? You take a look at this.
So this seems to be getting at the substituent change, and they're acknowledging that presumably the cationic intermediate is going to be the crucial one here. So that seems to be consistent with what we would be hoping. We keep on going to the cationic aryl polymerization of oxazolines. I'm a little skeptical that would necessarily be the case, but I could see potentially an argument. The Hammett resonance conjugation arguments are potentially important. The paper that I shared gets at a very nuanced thing that's kind of at the side of all those things.
Okay. Yeah.
We couldn't use Hammett analysis here because we only have one aryl group, but it's interesting that it acknowledges that.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it just throws out these terms and is so confident that it replies.
Yep. But overall, like the previous answer was better. This is pretty okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So like second year grad student.
That's good.
In cationic polymerizations, carbon new monomers, how to enolizable CH protons adjacent enable chain. This is nonsense. Complete nonsense. This is great. We're getting a good spread.
Yeah.
So these CH protons and their acidity, which is essentially what this is saying, is almost certainly not related to what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But it does get at something that is at least tangentially related, which is the ability of the group next to the carbonyl to donate electrons into the carbonyl.
Yeah.
To help calibrate everyone, I would say that the reason as to why we're seeing this outcome is something that very few people would understand unless they were either very good physical organic chemists or they'd spent quite a bit of time thinking about this problem.
Okay.
If you ask even most PhD students or postdocs, they would not be able to explain this without doing some work. So this is a higher level problem.
Okay. And I'll add job security. I would not be able to speak to like any of that. So this whole vetting, like, how much can you trust it? You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, but overall, this is good.
Okay.
The other thing that it did get that I think is interesting is the fact that N-alkyl chain length. It is the case that there was a twofold difference between like the best performing N-alkyl species, which had the longest chain, and then the worst performing, the shortest chain. This is pretty consistent across several trials.
Okay.
Was I interested in this? Not really.
Okay. Yeah. But it was picking up.
Is at least picking that up, which is interesting. Was this sort of like analysis you're looking for from me?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like bringing in the domain, like what seems reasonable, what's total nonsense or garbage. And then this is just this last one. Again, normally I would have it run those first 3 queries, get the results back, and then do this analysis
and
one.
You probably loop it a few times.
Exactly. Yeah. Just depending. I'm still kind of figuring out the nuances of how many loops make sense when it's usually about my schedule. Oh, I have a meeting for an hour, so.
You know the old Simpsons episode where he has like a little, the bird pressing the yes button. But anyway, so attach the data to the monomer screen, and they've correctly acknowledged what our monomers are and the abbreviation that we're using. They've also acknowledged, again, this idea of the differences of the substituents. They're picking up on this no alpha CH, which, again, I think is a red herring that's important to this. But they are getting at this mechanistic physical organic origin of the difference in the final polymerization. And they acknowledge that the key difference here really is between one monomer seems to get near quantitative conversion, and the others are plateauing at a pretty modest conversion. And if you scroll down a little bit, so this is the key one. One potential explanation for what we're seeing is the stability of the cationic propagating species. In other words, the species which is going to be reactive during the polymerization. We can also potentially make an argument from initiation here. In other words, how easy it is to make this. So there's a thermodynamics argument, which is stability, or a kinetics argument, which is how quickly you can make the intermediate. Both are potentially reasonable explanations. And by hitting on stabilization, you're kind of biasing towards one or the other. That's would be my critique. Again, it has this nonsense thing about enolization. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. Yeah. And then one kind of neat thing here, because it does have a UI, let me refresh.
So do the things you call via the API also, it does, cool.
Yeah, they show up here.
That's awesome.
And so you can see the analysis one actually finished already. Because we set these as high effort literature searches, they'll take longer. And you can see it's at 36% for most of these.
Could you click on references and just see what it's found so far? Well, tell us what it's saying.
Yeah. Okay. For this one, though, we could read through. Well, anyway, maybe we let Copilot get back. We'll come revisit this and see what it says. Good to jump back over.
Yeah,
we're here.
Hope so.
Yeah. Pulse check. How is this feeling? Useful? Yes, very good. Okay. Let's over here, and I think we should be able to do a Claude Code setup for this one. So in Google, oh, sorry. Yeah, if you open up a browser tab, nice. And maybe you can go full screen on this. And then zoom in a couple times, probably Command plus. Okay. And then search for GitHub Actions Claude integration. And then maybe minimize the zoom. And then maybe command scroll up, or anyway, just that can probably get a little bigger. There you go. And then I think it's that first one. Yeah. Yeah, I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So you scroll down a little bit, and this is pretty much saying all of the benefits that I just showed with GitHub Copilot. It's just now you're going to use Claude. So it looks like you can go to the Claude app. And are you able to open a terminal on that? Does that sound familiar at all? Maybe go back to the instructions. Oh, Claude Code. Yeah, and then see if you can do /. Does it let you do? Yeah. Okay. So see if you can do that command that I talked about in the other one. So yeah, this install GitHub app. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Do // one more time, and type install. Okay. Yeah. I'll try to figure out why that's. It says if the command fails or you prefer manual setup, please follow these steps. So how about yeah, you go back to the documentation page. Could you zoom in a little bit? The manual setup. So go install this app, go to this link. So maybe open that in a new tab. And so okay. And then if you go back to the
So what you're installing right now is essentially the ability to replace Copilot with your like Claude.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll do @Claude instead of @Copilot when you're tagging it or assigning it.
Then, Andrew, you mentioned that there are other like architectures for this that are more agent like specific than like GitHub. This earlier when we wrote it down.
People are talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, the Delta DB.
Yeah, Delta DB. Can you explain more about this, or is this just a thing you've heard vaguely about?
I don't know enough.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. And instead of adding the API key, you'll generate. You're pro or max design? Pro. Yeah. So it looks like if you run this the local terminal, you'll get this token. So if you open it, maybe you could run it there. Setup token. Maybe type setup. So no. So maybe open a terminal. It's not working. It's just terminal. Yeah. And yeah, this Claude setup token. And then before you run that, it would probably be good to stop your screen share. Okay, just make it.
I needed a new subscription.
Claude not found. Can you try running that? How would you be able to run that command in? I don't know, because Claude Code. Anybody more familiar with Claude Code? Like a terminal?
I was using that around with Claude on my PC.
Yeah.
Oh, in the terminal? Oh,
Yeah.
Run Claude.
If you even install Claude.
You're not even in Claude. Yeah.
Well, you got Claude in
Use
there.
it. Just open on Claude. No. Go to figure out what project directory you want to work in first. So I would create like a directory.
This one's just creating an auth code that'll copy and paste into GitHub. And the command is Claude setup -token according to the docs.
I don't guess, yeah.
I guess
On your terminal, if you type in Claude, does it?
It just opens Claude Code.
Okay, so then it seems like
I
maybe
think this one is like you're trying to access it through your CLI, right? So it's,
Yeah.
you have to get the CLI for the Claude. Right?
Oh, so you need to download that. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
It's like Perl or
it's weird because that you did it in
yeah.
the folder project folder, but then also
Not really for Claude.
not project folder, but like Claude folder.
Yeah, you
Where
just
it's
need a
installed.
folder
Yeah.
for Claude and then like find your Claude to your work folder.
And you also do
I don't think it's pip.
Okay.
It's on Claude. It's the curl one.
So this should work. If you go to Claude,
I will just send you a command.
yeah, go to
You can search for it.
Go to Claude 7. I think it's pretty, yeah. I'm smaller.
So flag.
Not quite certain on that page. It's usually this curl.
Curl SSL. I sent you on Slack.
Okay, is that? Oh, you're gonna install Claude.
Yeah, I sent it to you on Slack.
Perfect.
The entire thing.
I've been seeing so much like performative coding stuff online. They're like, Jarvis, tell me what the current volumes are for today. And it's like, good morning, sir. And it's just like, obviously they're just doing it for the cloud, like just for the views. It's not actually, you're not actually providing anything. Yeah. They're just wasting tokens. Yes.
Right.
Go back to it. Yeah. I have it. Keep going. That's me when I'm on like it's assignment. Once that's
Like,
It's like he's not out yet. You
Yeah,
can join the wait list.
yeah. So this is by the people like Zen, which is the best company. And their whole thing is like trying to like build their like pushing forward code editor, and that just means like regular tools that is better.
I see. So it's like more agent focused VS Code.
Yeah, but it has a number of nice features. If you've been coding for a while, there used to be this editor called Atom. It was like kind of a game changer, and then it kind of died, and for a number of reasons. And then those folks came over and made Sedge, which is very interesting and fun to use. It's built on Rust, but it's basically written like a game engine, so it runs at 120 frames per second, which is
Does that matter?
it's noticeable, honestly.
I'm sure.
But
Those tell 60 hertz is not enough. I have to have 100.
anyway, it's pretty good. The folks there know what they're doing. If you're but the whole idea of you just like changes are very minute happening faster than common sense. Cool, really cool. So, but that's not like certain season. Very cool. That's Claude. He's on playing at night.
it just looks like the giant white things in the Minecraft. You know what I'm talking about?
Another
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
What's that looks Tamagotchi?
Yeah.
Tamagotchi, right? Check it live. He looks so that it was dead almost immediately when I got it. It's a mass murder. I will be going to Charleston.
Okay, nice. You stop screen sharing, and did you run the command yet?
The quad setup.
Yeah, setup
Yeah.
token. Okay, cool. And then is that it up there?
Yeah,
Did you get-
it was just from.
Okay, so copy that token. Yeah, and then go to settings on your GitHub repository. So kind of top right-ish, one of the tabs there. Yeah, yes. The settings, go down. Actually, let me double check where. Yeah, so on the left, towards the bottom, there's going to be something that says secret. Probably. Yeah, secret. Yeah. And go to actions and add repository secret. And then paste it in there. And then for the name, you'll use this here. So all caps, Claude _code. Okay. Now you should be good to reshare your screen. So that won't get exposed anywhere. In fact, you won't be able to find it. I don't know, maybe you want to actually stop sharing for a second.
Yeah.
Maybe just exit out of your terminal.
Yeah, probably good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then reshare. So then from here, if you go back into back to the the docs, like the Claude Code docs. Scroll down until you get back to the manual setup. The manual setup, and then it talks about adding Anthropic API key. I checked, and it looks like you can use the OAuth, and that's important because that'll attach to your subscription, not just billing you for direct API costs. And then it says copy that workflow file. So open that examples Claude YAML file.
So that means it stop when you hit your monthly subscription.
It should, yeah. Charge you. I imagine it would stop if you set limits on it. And then click raw. And then go ahead and copy paste that whole thing. And you'll go back to GitHub repository, go to the code tab at the top left. And then there should be a plus button, or actually no, add file next to the green code button, create new file. And looks like you'll name this, so all lowercase .github. And then / workflows. / and then and then Claude. So again, all lowercase Claude.yml. You zoom in just more. Yeah. Here. Looks like we might have to change something about this so it does the basically so it uses the it's not using the API keys, but it uses the I'm gonna
Pointer to here.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess. So if you comment this out with the hashtag at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then copy this again onto a new line. Right after the. So click right there, enter 2 spaces. Paste that in. And then instead of this, well, actually, let's change this one first. Yeah. So that'll become the Claude Code. So Claude Code OAuth token. Yeah, and then it looks like it is this. So Claude. So it's that, but just all lowercase for this instead. So you've got this right.
Yeah. Okay.
But just making it all lowercase.
Oh, over
To
here.
replace that. Yeah.
Just the same name.
Yeah, right here.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Oops. Taylor, if you wanted, you could look up Codex. So like Codex GitHub Actions. Yeah.
I've got to run to my meeting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So after. And then roll it up. Then commit changes. It'll commit changes. Excuse me. Then go to issues. Here, new issue. Go and zoom in. And then this is where we're going to put, similar to the other one, we're going to put the task in. We'll upload the files. Go through that. So we'll start with that. Yeah, so the post, yeah, maybe just go to the email so you can copy paste since you have that full prompt.
You just want all of that in?
Yeah, basically the whole thing. So that can be the title, and then you can, for the prompt, you can put that in the issue. Body, just that full. And then you can take out that part about deleting files. The do not delete or not. You call it post processing of TFT data, but whatever you want there. Okay, then couple bits. Flip it. Highlight all of this. So all these ones, yeah, just up till there. Scroll up a little bit. Or couple dots. And yeah, maybe do that. Not necessary. So now go up to the top again. See if you can assign Claude. Assign these. Yeah. Go with your icon. It looks like no. So instead, go here at the very beginning, add a space, then go left one and type at. The word, or sorry, the at symbol. Try typing in Claude, all lowercase. And go ahead and let's see, it says
I'm gonna go ahead and add files. Right.
oh right, yeah. So maybe leave this here, open a new tab with the code. Scroll all the way to the top. Open a new tab for code. And then go plus button, upload files, name just grab the ones that aren't huge, and then for the ones that are, were you able to get that on like a OneDrive or a? Yeah.
I should only need.
Okay.
So what's the advantage of doing this in the web UI versus just doing this or a little bit longer?
Yeah, the session. Oh, so Claude from terminal. I think Claude Code can still spin up like sandbox cloud pieces. A couple reasons. One, not underestimating provenance. Like, it's really easy to lose your transcripts, especially if you're like to not have your transcripts be kind of available and integrated. So having GitHub issues and pull requests, it's like anything that's valuable about issues and pull requests maintains its value in using that kind of setup from like a project management standpoint. Claude Code obviously has its own kind of structure and management. So if you stay in Claude Code, you can
still a skill that operates on this issue as well.
You can write skills for
because Claude can do everything in GitHub. Like it can submit issues, it can pull requests, so like I guess what would be the difference between you manually writing issues in terminal and having it back on? I guess like just rather than having to go through GitHub infrastructure, just using GitHub terminal commands. It's the same sort of situation.
Yeah, I think that is fine. I guess you lose a little bit in terms of, well, maybe that's it. You don't, if you type in like make a GitHub issue and do this and this and this, it will do that, but it's not showing the fact that you prompted it to make the issue and do these things. And so you're losing all your prompts being fully visible, accessible on GitHub. So that I would say is it's like you're seeing the outputs of what you instructed to do, but you're not capturing that in the same platform. And I think there's value to with the people I've worked with. I'm almost always asking for them to do the share link for their transcripts and things. Like I see something like this was clearly an LLM output, and I don't mind that so much, but oftentimes I want to see what they prompted to get that output as well. Now you could, of course, type in something like always include the prompt that I give it. So I'm sure you could work around it, and it's not like it is a deal breaker. Just that you might lose some context from that. Maybe I could show a couple things while you're getting this uploaded. I have a good example.
You also find that going through the GitHub like web interface is really easy for undergrads.
Much easier.
That seems to be particularly useful then.
Yeah, there's always some hesitancy with it. Like a person posting their first comment on GitHub. When I do onboarding with these undergrads, I make sure they have a GitHub account, that they're on the Slack channel, and oftentimes I'll have them go create an issue and see if they get the notification for it. It's basically like, if I tag you on an issue, are you going to see it? Get an email or something like that. And then I specifically, I keep almost all of the technical discussion on GitHub repos and issues and pull requests. I use Slack for setting up meetings, quick one-offs, or if something's really urgent and it needs this more real-time communication feel to it. I also use Slack when I start feeling lazy. I just want that real time. But even when I so when students start using Slack for the technical communication, almost always I'll say, like, oh, could we move this conversation over to GitHub if it's not time sensitive? Or if it's time sensitive, kind of at the end of it, I'll say, by the way, can you take all of what we just talked about and put it in the corresponding GitHub issue or pull request, like keep that context there, which is a little bit of extra work compared to having it. So it's this sort of cost of, it was quicker to do the real-time communication, and then there's a little bit of backlog to port it over. But I'm sometimes multiple times a day sending a Slack message saying like, hey, can we port this over to GitHub? And I also just set the expectation, like, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It's just take it as a triaging on my part. Like, it's not always clear what goes on Slack versus what goes on GitHub. And I'm an extremist in terms of things to GitHub, so like, don't take it as an offensive thing for me to ask this. And I also just emphasize with the students, especially during onboarding and then periodically,